Shalom Aleichem and welcome to the first ever podcast being recorded in the new OU Israel recording studio. It's really incredible. It's beautiful. And we look forward to producing many videos coming out of this room to the rest of the Jewish world. So here we're about to hear the first one. Rabbi Ezra Friedman.
Rabbi Avi Berman.
How are you?
Thank God, Baruch Hashem.
I am catching you as the director of the Gustave Carol Jacobs Kashrut Education Center here in Israel, as well as one of our OU Israel Kashrus Mashgichim here in Israel. Probably in the busiest 2 weeks of your year, right or wrong?
Absolutely right.
It's Erev Pesach. You're getting questions off the hook. How Raya, we had to leave your phone way out of this room to make sure we'll be able to get your attention for 25 minutes. And the entire world is trying to get answers as to what to buy, what not to buy, what they could use, what they can't use. And the advantage of having these podcasts, these conversations and videos, is that you're able to put them up on YouTube, and then the world could see them, and hopefully that will give you time to answer other questions that are not answered inside this video. So let's start off by the fact that you're getting hundreds of phone calls a day. What is the most popular question that you're getting?
What raw ingredients or ingredients that I see in the supermarket that are certified all year long can I continue to purchase for Pesach? Or if I have these products stored in my fridge, freezer, and pantry, can I use them for Pesach?
In other words, you're talking to people that are going through the pantry and trying to figure out, wait a second, I have salt. Do I need to make sure that I have a closed salt? Do I need to go special to the store now, spend the money, and buy a special salt that's written on a kosher Pesach, with a good hechsher, of course? Or could I just use the salt that I have in my house?
Exactly.
So that's one example of many, many, many. Do you have a list of products that you could tell people, listen, if you have a closed item in your house, don't run to the store to buy a special one, because if it's closed and it's good for the rest of the year, you could also use it for Pesach.
So a list is very long, but let's give some examples. I think it'll help explain to our viewers and listeners what it means. So the classic example, of course, in a time where inflation and prices are going up, we want to help save the Jewish pocket as much as possible, the Jewish wallet. I'm going to give two classic examples here in Israel that I think are really important for people to know, because it really is a burden on a lot of people. If you have frozen raw chicken or frozen raw meat, I'm talking about the actual beef itself, not processed meat, not meats for the barbecue.
Not ground beef.
Well, again, 100% ground beef also. Ground beef, meat, asado, steak, chicken, pargiot, all those kind of things, Cornish hen. And frozen fish with skin, regular frozen, not processed fish, not fish ready. That was not of course fish.
Not fish sticks.
Not fish sticks.
Not gefilte fish.
Not gefilte fish. If you have those products in your freezer and they sat in the freezer for 3 or 4 months, they are absolutely fine for Pesach. There's no need to throw them out, no need to give them away. Use them for Pesach. The common misconception was that the issue is that they feed the chicken and the meat chametz before Pesach. Now, even if they were to consume chametz before Pesach, according to most authorities in Poskim, including OU Poskim, there's no problem to have them on Pesach. The question became about on Pesach, which we'll jump to a second, about milk and eggs. If chicken and beef have chametz on Pesach, they consume it. There is a opinion that prohibits you to consume them if you get it on Pesach. I mean, if you had a chicken that ate on Yom Tov and then you shechted it, had it before Pesach, some say you can't use it. But regardless, today that's not an issue, and especially when you have chicken and beef in your freezer before Pesach, regular chicken, regular beef, and frozen fish, there is no need to purchase new ones for Pesach. If it's closed, if it's secured, there's no issue, that's not a problem. Again, let's emphasize, that is completely raw fish, raw chicken, raw beef, any processed beef, any beef with any additives, any chicken that's ready for that's pre-cooked, that needs a special kosher certification.
So the reason we're telling people to buy things before Pesach as opposed to on Pesach is because...
Oh, so that's a good point. We're going to jump to the question you mentioned. There's a concern that those who consume, if animals were to consume chametz on Pesach, then there is an opinion that the chametz, since it's usher, it's a very severe prohibition that has a prohibition of benefit. It's not batul, it doesn't be nullified. We're concerned that even if a chicken were to eat a piece of chametz on Pesach, a piece of grain, or a cow would consume it as food for the animal, that we could not gain benefit from its meat on Pesach. And that came to the next question. There's a common custom that we're aware of that was done throughout America. I'm sure you remember when you were a kid. Your mother and my mother would buy all the milk and all the eggs before Pesach. Before Pesach, they wouldn't buy anything on Pesach. That was a concern in America where the egg supply and milk supply was coming very fast, and we could not control or monitor what the cows or chickens were consuming. Today it's not a concern in Israel. Baruch Hashem, we live in Eretz Yisrael, and we have the opportunity to have widespread kosher awareness. So the farms and the kosher organizations, both that bring in meat from around the world, and especially chicken and eggs and milk from Israel, they feed the animals non-chametz food months in advance. So as such, there's no concern. Of course, you can always buy eggs and milk before Pesach, but even on Pesach, and you'll see on the label, it'll have an inkjet. You'll see kashlap, kaf, shin.
The egg, not the milk.
The milk as well. You'll see kashlap with the milk as well. It's kashlap. You have it both on the egg and the milk.
Not on the milk, on the bag.
On the bag, yeah. No, you won't have it. You have it in check on the milk. If you have it in check on the milk, don't drink the milk. But you have it on the egg.
On the egg, you have it on the egg.
The egg, you have the egg. You have the shell of the egg, you have those bags. So you can definitely, certainly buy eggs and milk all over Israel, no matter what, as long as it has that indentation that's almost on all eggs and all milk. It's no concern.
And the Rashi Tevos, the abbreviation for Kashrut Pesach here in Israel is?
Kashlap. Kaf, shin, lamed pei.
Kashlap.
Kashlap.
So it's important for people to know that that's not a word that you don't understand. It's actually Kashrut Pesach, but in abbreviation to save on the ink.
It's not an expiration date. It's save on the ink.
Yes, and sometimes it's even Ayin, Reish,
Right.
Kashlap.
And Erev Pesach.
Exactly.
Right.
So sometimes it's Erev Pesach. In other words, for those that want to make sure that they're buying something that was milked or produced, or etc. before Passover, or Kashrut Pesach and was produced on Pesach, it will have that inkjet.
Correct.
That's incredible. So could you give me other things that people could continue using, items that they bought for the regular year, but for example, olive oil.
Classic example.
Or somebody has raw almonds.
Correct.
Raw cashews.
Correct. So those products, you're right on the ball, Rabbi Avi. Raw nuts that are closed and are 100% nuts are fine for Pesach. I'll just throw in a bit of a curveball.
What do you mean raw nuts? Like
raw almonds, raw cashews.
But they don't have to be in the peel.
No. They can be peeled. They be raw, 100% raw almonds. I'll throw in an interesting curveball while we're talking about this. There was a custom in Yerushalayim, and there's a question we get a lot on the hotline, is regarding nuts. In America, or overseas, England, all the English-speaking countries, the Jewish communities have pistachios, cashews, pecans, all this stuff for Pesach. These are raw or roasted. There is a custom in Yerushalayim not to have roasted nuts on Pesach. Why? There was concern, Rav Shmuel Salan talks about this, and it was brought down in generations in the old Yeshuv in Yerushalayim, that they roast the nuts in flour. And flour is, of course, chametz. So as such, they became the custom not to consume these roasted nuts on Pesach. But, however, that's not our custom. The OU holds it's fine. So if you have either raw nuts, almonds, pecans, pistachios, or even roasted, 100% roasted nuts, regular roasted nuts that are closed, you can consume on Pesach.
So you're saying the custom here in Yerushalayim was not even to take raw nuts and roast them in your house?
Correct. That was a custom. Interesting custom, but that's
custom.
There are many customs you have to respect. We respect that custom. Those who have that custom should definitely keep it. But those coming from overseas and used to having pecans and so on and so forth for Pesach, there's no concern to have those kind of stuff for Pesach whatsoever. Regarding your question of other products, so olive oil is standard. Virgin olive oil, especially from Europe, the EU. I can't guarantee about other nations, but you'll see EU. You'll see it says product of the EU on
or the United States.
Or the United States or Canada.
Just any westernized country that
correct.
You could trust.
Those olive oil is kosher Pesach. If it's closed, no matter what, it has a good certification for year-round, of course, then it's fine for Pesach. Sugar is an interesting question because sugar has enzymes. The OU, with its broad breadth of opportunity, knowledge, research, and resources, reviewed sugar a couple years ago and found there was an enzyme called alpha amylase that is used at the end of the process, the 11-stage process of sugar, which helps the yield of the sugar. That alpha amylase can be chametz, and in a case where, even though it's so minute, it's like it's a percent, like it's 1 for every 2 million pieces of sugar, Regardless, there are questions because it's a ma'amid. If it's essential in the holding of the product, that might be an issue. However, after research in Israel, we of course, as the OU's breadth and the largest certification in the world, we monitor all the sugar that comes to Israel. We can confirm that all sugar that enters Israel all year long is kosher for Pesach. If you have a closed bag of sugar in your home, you can have that for Pesach.
But if you brought I saw an Osher out there selling Domino sugar.
So that has to be confirmed as kosher for Pesach.
So if it's coming from outside of Israel, we have to make sure it's kosher Pesach. But if it's Israeli brand,
correct,
you'd be okay with that.
Cocoa powder is another example of products. Salt, you mentioned.
So cocoa powder, you could take a regular kosher.
100 cocoa powder is fine.
Okay.
We get almond flour is a big question. Almond flour is a big question. We get a lot. Almond flour from Kirkland's, a famous brand, is also approved for Pesach all year long. Trying to help those make it a bit easier to get ready for Pesach.
Especially those that keep gebraks.
Oh yeah.
And need the almond flour even more.
Oh, yeah.
What about coffee?
Coffee is an interesting question.
Tea.
Fantastic. So I'm going to go into the beverage category. 100% instant and Turkish coffee with no flavors, both capsules and granulated coffee is absolutely fine for Pesach. That means Turkish coffee, black coffee, instant coffee 100%, and the capsules, those little things you put in your Keurig machine that are 100% coffee are fine. Where does it get complicated?
The flavors.
The flavors. So any flavored flavors, according to OU policy and halacha, have to be confirmed for Pesach. We do have concerns about alcohol used in the plant, additives in the flavor. Flavor gives flavor. That's its point. So we have to confirm its status for Pesach. So any flavored coffee needs a specific certification for Pesach, as well as decaffeinated coffee. Decaffeinated coffee, a famous or most common form to remove or extract the caffeine from the coffee, is a form of washing where they have an alcohol wash. The alcohol helps extract from the coffee beans the caffeine, which makes decaffeinated coffee beans, and in turn, decaffeinated coffee. That alcohol can be chametz. So decaffeinated coffee needs to have a reputable certification for Pesach. Regarding tea, as natural as it seems, many teas companies around the world, the famous teas, all have flavors as well. So 100% natural tea might also have flavor. Natural can mean natural in many different scopes of what natural means. So natural tea that has no flavors, if it exists, is fine for Passover, fine for Pesach. But normally teas need confirmation because they do contain flavors. Please make sure that the teas you are consuming have kosher Pesach certification.
Even if it's just a regular tea?
You have no idea. The regular tea gets a natural, but has natural flavors. You have an inkjet on many teas in Israel, both with OU and
for kosher Pesach.
That is kosher Pesach.
So the inkjet was really a big thing here in Israel.
Very much. They make so many labels all year long, and to sometimes produce special labels for a week, a year is very complicated.
They have the issue of kitniot, which is a big issue, and I would appreciate talking about it in a minute, because the amount of text messages that I've received, Avi, which restaurants could I eat in on Pesach? I'm coming to Israel. I'm afraid of kitniot, etc. People really are very confused and scared by kitniot. But because you mentioned the issue of the inkjet, I want to point out that a friend of mine, who's a Rav, gets a question on Pesach that he unfortunately, his friend opened up a package of wafers and served it at an oneg that he had for students, and afterwards realized that the wafers, one of the packages that he bought was regular wafers for the whole year. But he took it all from the same stack, and he saw the first one that he picked up was kosher Pesach, second one was kosher Pesach, and he assumed the entire row was kosher Pesach. He took 5-6 packages home, and then on Pesach, people are sitting in his house eating chametz gomer.
So sorry to hear.
So when it's extremely painful.
So unfortunate.
So you try to say, wait a second, kitniot is that we'll have a little grain of wheat inside rice, right? But we have to notice that the packaging many times could be the same problem with kitniot that will confuse us and we won't even realize. And therefore, we recommend that every package that you pick up, look at the individual package. Okay?
You are so right, Rabbi Avi. It is so crucial. I unfortunately have gotten similar questions. I had a question last year of a family who was getting ready for Pesach. We're so excited, and the mother was cooking an afternoon meal on Erev Pesach, making shitzer for the kids. And after kashering her kitchen, get everything ready, she noticed that the bag of breadcrumbs was chametz. And I can't explain to you the emotional and just pain towards the Chag. We also have a mitzvah of Avi, of a samachta b'chagecha. It's a very important mitzvah to be able to enjoy. So I want to say to our viewers and our listeners, regardless of all this tension and all this effort for Pesach, it's time to enjoy and the time with your family. We're going to get to Pesach, you're going to tell that to your children, you're going to have an amazing experience, you're going to pass down that link, that chain of tradition we get. Don't forget to enjoy Pesach as well.
And for your children, wife,
of course,
spouse,
100%.
Parents, etc. It's the one night a year where we have a mitzvah to sit down of v'higata lebincha, to pass it over to your children.
Unbelievable,
right? So it's important that they, get the special foods that parents and grandparents make for their children.
But special attention.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, because I think it doesn't
register,
and it's not taken for granted, right? Sometimes we come to the Seder, especially here in Israel, we only have one Seder, and you come into the table and you're just like zanked. Thank God this year we have it. It's Motzei Pesach, so hopefully Motzei Shabbos. People will be coming to the Seder hopefully a little more rested and not like a normal year. But thank God there's no Erev Tavshilin from Shabbos to Yom Tov. So people come more rested, more comfortable to the table, have time Shabbos afternoon to prepare more Divrei Torah, be able to sit down with your kids, read the Haggadah, etc. But maybe a couple words actually about the Shabbos itself, because generally speaking, Pesach, the day before, we're doing Bdikat Chametz at night, we're doing Bdikat Biur Chametz in the morning, Kol Chamir v'Chamia, and done after a certain hour, 10, whatever, we stop eating Chametz and finish. That's it. But this year, the day we're doing the Biur Chametz, the burning of the Chametz, is actually Friday, and then we'll continue eating Chametz on Shabbos.
Tanit Bechorot is on Thursday even.
Tanit Bechorot is on Thursday, correct. So could you give us a rundown of how we're going to do this? Because after we can't have chametz anymore, so how are we going to have shalosh shudas if we can't have a motzi? We're not supposed to have matzah. Give us just...
So fantastic question. So I'm going to cover about 3 or 4 areas that are important to realize. First of all, like you said, Tanit Bechorot is on Thursday. We burn the chametz on Friday morning. We sell our chametz, that the chametz should be sold on Friday afternoon, meaning our sale should begin at Shkia on Shabbos. We don't want the sale to be on Shabbos. And then we have the question of Seudah Shlishit. And in general, how do we deal with chametz and Pesach at the same time? So again, Tanit Bechorot is done on Thursday. On Friday, we burn the chametz and say Kol Chamira. We do the Bdika Chametz on Thursday night, as we always do. Shabbos is it's not an obstacle, it's an opportunity to be able to mix things together. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu always gives us these tests that we can overcome. So on the one hand, there's a biblical obligation to have 3 meals on Shabbos. So those 3 meals should all have bread, two whole loaves of bread if possible. And on the other hand, by the time, I think it's 11:27 or 11 something this year, chametz is prohibited to be eaten. So how do we work those out together? So there are really 3 customs that are done. I think they all have a legitimate halachic background, and I think we have to see what works for each one, and that's the Rav what to do. The option number 1 is the famous split. We all daven a bit earlier on Shabbos. We have a meal in the morning with bread. Of course, we eat the meal at night with bread. The meal in the morning, an early morning meal at 8:30 or 9 o'clock earlier.
But ideally, it should be pita, which doesn't have a lot of crumbs.
Very much true. So
right?
It's very true. Rav Avi, it's absolutely
sometimes you cut challah and you have pieces everywhere.
All right. So this Shabbos, it's a mitzvah to have pitas. Pita, lafa, things don't make any crumbs. There are actually another halacha question, which is basically where do we eat it? So there's a common custom by many people, and there's an important halacha to mention. People want to have you ask the wife, they're very important. I don't want anything around my chametz, the kelim in my house. Go to my porch. My porch is into my living room. I have my pita. You have your salatim if you have your hummus.
How much of a pita is one required to eat?
A fourth. Fourth is a kabetza.
So a quarter.
A quarter of a really size. A quarter is a bit more than a quarter. A third. Third is a kabetza. That's right. Have a third, and then you're good.
So if you're 6 people around the table, you take 2 pita, divide a third to each one. Everybody's yotze.
And then
both Friday night and Shabbos morning.
What's important to point out is when you have those pitas outside, in order to bench Birkat Hamazon, you have to bench in the place you ate. But however, you're going to go eat back. You're going to go back inside. So there is a halacha written in Shulchan Aruch that if you can see where you had your bread from where you ate your meal, that's fine. So if you make sure if you want to have the pitas outside on the porch, you should watch in a vicinity, or you should eat in a vicinity where you can see where you're eating. So when you're sitting down for your second and third meal, you can see where you ate, and then you can bench where you are. That's an important point.
You can also keep a piece of pita inside your mouth, walk inside, and then just chew it and swallow it when
Right.
you're already sitting at the table.
Right. If your wife allows you, my wife says, "Listen, don't even
So
let
it
it
might be pikuach
That'd be
nefesh.
correct. Exactly. Don't play with fire. I would play with fire. Play with pita. Play with fire. So the first customs of, like I said, you could use pitas, and they have a meal Friday night. You wake up Shabbos morning, you have a nice davening. Davening on the early side, you have a meal, take a walk for half an hour, and have a meal again before the end of Chametz, which is your 3 meals. Even though we normally have Seudah Shlishit
After chatzos and after mincha.
Chatzot, correct. This year, it's because you want to do Seudah Shlishit, you could do it again it that way. That's one option. The second option, which is for those who have a harder time to do that split of the meal, don't want to split the meal, there is an opinion according to the Ari that you shouldn't split the meal. They have regular Shabbos morning a bit early, so they have a normal meal. And for Seudah Shlishit, or for even Seudah Shniyah, for the second meal, they'll have matzah ashira. There's opinions among the authorities that matzah ashira, if you have 2 of them, is sufficient for Pesach. Rav Moshe Feinstein was at that opinion of to have challah. Some people it's hard to have the whole challah matzah thing. They buy matzah ashira, which has much less concerns halachically for chametz, and you
What's
can
that, basically, egg matzah?
Egg matzah, or matzah with wine, matzah with apple juice. You have that Shabbos morning. You have a normal meal. You can eat it again. Now, problem is you can have it again in the afternoon, so there's no problem with timing. You can have it after chatzot.
People that don't eat matzah ashira on Pesach could have it on Shabbos afternoon?
Correct. There's a custom to have that matzah ashira. The other option is some people, instead of matzah ashira, they fry the matzah, so it's not really matzah. There is an opinion, it's very uncommon to have matzah that wasn't made lishma, not for mitzvah matzah, but that's very rare. The main minhag is to have matzah ashira. The third option is basically in between. You can have matzah ashira for the first one, or regular challah for the first meal. You have Seudah Shlishit in the afternoon. Late in the afternoon, you just don't have bread. The Aruch HaShulchan holds that there's no real, in a case where the halacha seems to have a conflict. There's no conflict. Chazal don't make you have Seudah Shlishit in a time like this. Since we have the Isra Chametz, you have your kosher Pesach fish, whatever you want, and so on and so forth. What's important to mention, this is an obvious halacha, Rav Avi, is that we cannot have matzah on Erev Pesach. Meaning those who want to have challah or matzah shira or anything else, they cannot have matzah, because a halacha, we can't have matzah on Erev Pesach, because we want to come with...
What about matzah meal?
Oh, matzah meal. So that's a good question. Anything that has the flavor of matzah, meaning it could be matzah brai, or any of that kind of stuff, we shouldn't have that on Erev Pesach. So you shouldn't have matzah on Erev Pesach because you want to come to the Seder.
So we shouldn't have knedlach that were made from matzah meal.
Right. So we should have that on Erev Pesach as well. There's an opinion of that in certain poskim. So in general, to just summarize, we have the option of having the pitas, splitting the meal, having 3 meals with bread, or matzah, egg matzah, matzah shira, or just having whatever we decide and having a very small, non-bread, non-gluten.
So if somebody's going to have that non-gluten option, let's say they choose the third option, would you recommend them having also 2 dates or some pomegranate or grapes in order to make sure that they can make a main shalosh at the end?
A main shalosh. That's a good question. I think that yes, it would be good to have a main shalosh. To have a main shalosh at the end. Correct.
Because you want to make
not an
alamichya, but
and if you're eating from the food of Eretz Yisrael, even better.
Well, where are you going to get good dates from if not from Israel?
100%.
Okay, very good.
Now regarding cleaning the chametz, it's important that if you do have the pitas or even the matzah shir, which you don't consume on Pesach, you clean up all the chametz, whatever's left over on Shabbos morning before the time we have to burn the chametz. You can dispose of it in the public garbage, and that is considered as if you've done biur, and you say kol chamira again.
So where could somebody find a full list of all the products that they could buy that don't need special certification for Pesach?
Right.
Or I know that there are certain products that have the OU that don't have the OUP, which is for Passover, Pesach, but are okay for Pesach, like Reynolds aluminum foil, right? So it has the OU, doesn't have the OUP, but it's fine for Pesach. But why wouldn't the OU just give the OUP if it's fine for Pesach every year?
It's a very good question. The OU is an international certification. Most of 90% of our products are by non-Jewish companies or are meant for the non-Jewish and Jewish community together. Sometimes these companies don't understand or grasp the aspect of Pesach. We feel an obligation to our consumers, our consumer body, to opt for them the opportunity to have this stuff for Pesach, but we don't force the company to change a label. I mean, if somebody's interested in kosher certification, we do offer OUP. It's important to mention, Rav Avi, something else. OUP certification requires a level. We understand that Pesach is very serious. There's a very serious Yisurim like anything Kashrut. We require for every OUP certification, hashkacha tmidis, permanent and full-time hashkacha, full-time certification supervision.
But real full-time.
Real full-time, from the beginning until the end. not all of our facilities, our companies, want to obligate themselves in that kind of system. So we can have a system where we recommend products that we know are chametz free, or we know that are certified for Pesach. But in order to get the OUP certification, that we know that people trust, that's the guaranteed service they trust of the highest level of certification. We require hashgacha tmidit, full-time supervision.
So any OUP out there means that an OU mashgiach, was in the factory from the second the production started until the second it
From
ended.
beginning to end.
Those are very high standards.
That's what we do.
That kol hakavod to the OU. Thank God, worked extremely hard, months before Pesach, on putting together a publication that is a lifesaver for so many people that are confused about so many different topics. A publication that went out. We sent it out. We sent it out with Jerusalem Post to the whole Greater Yerushalayim area. We sent it out with Torah tidbits to, I think, another 10,000, 15,000 copies across the country. But let's say somebody's watching this and they didn't get a copy. So first, I will say that if somebody got 2 copies, because they happen to have gotten one in the Jerusalem Post, and make sure to call somebody that you think will benefit from it, and ask them if they need it, because we're limited in the amount of publications that we could put out there. But is there an online edition that we could put the link right over here in the wording under this video?
Yes, of course. The
so
wording
people can get it.
There is an online edition. It'll be both in Torah tidbits and on this the comments here on this podcast that we're doing right now.
Phenomenal. We started doing this how many years ago? This Pesach guide?
4 years ago.
4 years ago. And what's the feedback you're getting?
Fantastic. As I feel, when somebody tells me I enjoy your article, or I gained a lot of, I enjoyed reading it, I learned a lot, that's one thing. But like you said, people say, listen, I really want to be able to make my holiday special, and I feel so confused. And the fact that I was able to read over, it gave me such a feeling of tranquility. I can go into Pesach knowing what's going on. If I can help improve, if we, the OU, can help improve not only people's physical lives of what they eat, but their spiritual lives, and the fact that they go into Pesach and really feel, like you said, that passing on, we've done our job.
So, Rabbi Ezra Friedman, I want to thank you for being the first podcast being recorded in this special room.
I feel honored.
And you should. You should.
Should be many more.
It'll be the first of many, 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 many. And we look forward to Bezrat Hashem having the ability to continue educating and continue inspiring and letting the world know about the great work that you and the entire OU Israel Kosher and OU Kosher worldwide team does. Thank you very much for this informative podcast, and wishing you a Chag Kasher v'Sameach, to you, your incredible family, and all Klal
Thank you.
Yisrael.
I want to wish to you, your family, and our viewers a Chag Kasher v'Sameach.
Amen. Thank you very much.